what other people feel during this time without having, like, he's my best friend, he's my everything, right? So I can't even imagine. But there is something called broken heart syndrome, right?
Right.
So when you lose somebody, your heart just breaks in different ways. And how do you recover from something so tragic, right? Whether it could be a loss of, like, a spouse, a loss of a family member, a loss of a child, a loss of somebody just means so much to you that your heart breaks. It can be a hard thing to get over, a hard thing to recover from. Have you ever lost anybody like that, Emily? I know I have a couple, but yeah.
I've lost grandparents and that kind of thing, but um, it was not like I was like really close to them or anything like that. Like some people have, are really close to their grandparents or another family member, and so it'd probably be a little bit harder for them. I'm not saying that it wasn't hard for me. It was a little bit, but I think
Right.
probably like the closer you are to the person, the or I guess maybe even depending on what you or even your or even depending on what the connection is or how close you are to the person, depends on how like hard it is for you.
Right.
Um,
Or maybe not even be able to prepare. Maybe
yeah,
something so sudden.
like a traffic
it,
accident, like a car accident,
all
you know, or anything that
car
was
accident, or there's so many different things out there.
that too.
Suicide is another one, since we're talking about mental health and mental awareness.
Yes, but
Suicide is a huge one
it
that
seems like it's been
affects
like
so
a
many
huge
people.
one, at least as of late. One of those things that are kind of higher up on the
Yeah.
more common list of
Yeah.
uh,
Well, did you know in MLMs and direct sales that the suicide rate is very high?
I'm not sure, but I guess I'm not. I know I'm not certain. I'm not saying that
No,
you're
it is.
right.
It
I
is.
guess.
It is.
I guess
Yeah, you know, it's
I'm not.
crazy. And what I'm saying
I
is
guess I
just
never really
crazy
totally
because,
thought of it, but I'm not totally surprised that it is.
yeah, it's not something that you really think of because, it's not easy being even. So sometimes you think of suicide as people who have mental awareness, but maybe you're even struggling with, like, your career or a path you want to go on. You just don't know what,
I had
that,
well, actually,
you know,
suicide does
yeah.
kind of hit home a little bit, because one of the people in my autism group um just
Yep.
it seems like that he took his life like just like a few weeks ago, and
Yeah.
uh it seemed like he was like happy-go-lucky, like there was no he wasn't like obviously like hugely depressed or we weren't even really aware he was that far that direction. And
Right.
I think that there are, and so it was kind of a shock when it happened. I think there are some people where
Yeah.
they may show symptoms of that kind of thing. But it's not to the point where they're actually doing it or it actually happens. But then there are other people where, like for this person, where he's not really showing really well symptoms or obvious symptoms, and then just out of the blue happens. And so I think you
Right.
never really know.
Well, you can use Twitch, for instance, right? Twitch, who was Ellen DeGeneres' sidekick. He was always happy. In fact, my daughter took lessons from his wife, and they were just happy, go lucky, fun, always energetic, always positive. And one day he's gone. But then you got to also think about, and we're talking about, February and love. How is that family dealing with it? Right? All of a sudden, you lose somebody who's happy go lucky. We don't know what's behind the scenes, but they're gone. And then you have to deal with a month of love, and you have to deal with a whole bunch of other, things that come up. So, and how do you not go down that path that they went on?
Good. I want to bring
when
you in
have
here.
Somebody that passes.
Do you have anything you'd like to add to what we're talking about? Here, I think we're having a little bit of a freeze.
You could be frozen.
Technical issue here, but
now he's frozen the spot again. Because like his says a disability channel, but there are so many children with disability.
Okay. You're starting to hear you there.
It's a failure. We can hear one word and then you stop and then he's smiling at least. He's
so am I coming through okay now?
There we go.
I can hear you a little better, yeah.
Am I coming through okay?
Yep, now we can hear you.
So yeah, so basically with February 6th, today on Monday, today is On Time to Talk Day. Help raise awareness about mental health and be a part of changing the narrative. So Emily, what does that mean to change the narrative?
What does it mean for what was it?
On Time to Talk Day, help raise awareness about mental health and be part of changing the narrative. Time to Talk Day, dates, year to date, day 2023, February 6th. It's Monday, so that's reflecting today. So what does it mean to change narrative?
Well, just kind of changing the thinking or the story of how someone thinks about it or how the way something's going. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So why would we need to change the narrative?
So I think mental health.
Where does the need for changing?
Well, I think mental health has gotten a I don't know if it would be necessarily kind of a bad kind of rap or not. It taken as seriously at times as maybe it should be. That I think probably more emphasis needs to be placed on the importance of mental health, and it needs to be kind of more front of mind, like more attention put towards it, and not to kind of take it as lightly. But it's a very serious issue, right?
Yep.
And so what do we call that, where we talk about how, like saying changing the narrative, how a narrative can kind of give a bad rap? What do we call that when we give an advocacy topic a bad rap? We call it stigma. Yeah. Because we tie the people going through the experience. Right, Melanie? Stigma?
You kind of broke up a little bit there, so I'm trying to hear. I'm trying to piece together the words, so that's what I was trying to do. The only thing I can do is show them positivity and love, and hope that that one moment, that one day, that one time they met me, that they remember that somebody cares and loves about them, and hopefully that will carry on.
And there's like the whole thing about you never know the impact you have on you might not always know the impact you have on somebody else. So whether that's like just I don't know, a compliment or a smile or anything like that, that any
Yeah.
kind of little thing you can do like that helps or could help. And you may not always know or realize how that may or may not help somebody.
Well, it's true, because I remember I smile at everybody, make eye contact with people and smile all the time, because that's how I want people to treat me, right? And I remember there's a senior citizen who stopped, and I smiled and said, "Hi, how are you?" And they said, "Thank you for giving me that smile today. That's exactly what I needed," and then walked away. So you never know who you're going to impact. I mean, I've come across it before where it's been the opposite, but I just skipped away like, I'm not going to not smile because you're having a bad day. Sorry. But yeah, I mean, always giving the love and always showing love and always, treating people how I want to be treated, because I sometimes need a smile on a bad day. It's how I had my kids ask me, they go, "Why do you smile at everybody and why do you talk to everybody?" I said, "Because you never know who needs it."
Yeah. It may not always be at that particular moment, but at some point, whether it's for you or somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Right. And I want my kids to see that. I want my kids to see that one simple change, which is a smile on your face, which that's why I didn't like the masks much, because I couldn't smile at people when I was out. And how many people needed that during COVID, right? I mean, so many people needed that.
Well,
during
technically,
COVID,
it smiled.
and,
It's just that nobody is going to see it because it's covered up
I
up
smiled all
with the
the time.
mask. But
or I could have gotten a clear one, right? But
so, Kurt, is that? I think, Kurt, is that also part of your? Well, I think it's part of your personality anyway. But the whole kind of joke thing and laughing, kind of with what you do.
With what I do, keep going with that. What is it that I do?
Like giving, I think me especially, but I think there are other people like give you a hard time or anything like that. Like getting everybody to like smile or anything like that.
Me?
I think it's a personality thing, but I think, I think it helps though to getting somebody to the smile, whether you're doing it intentionally or not, always doing it intentionally or not. Well, that's for anybody, not just you, Kurt.
The gift of a giggle.
But since you're on
Wait,
here,
so I give people
use you as an example.
Wait, so let me catch this here. So you're saying that through giving people, you're saying through giving people a hard time, I get people
Well, I don't know if
smile.
it's just with giving you a hard time. I don't know about it, if it's just
what you're saying?
the giving of hard time, but just I don't know what it is. How to explain it really.
You don't know,
but it's
somehow I just have a knack of putting a smile on people's
like
faces. Is that what you're saying?
Giving, smiling at somebody or saying hi, kind of getting somebody to laugh at times too. is a good thing maybe to help somebody's mood. I mean, because another thing we could kind of runs kind of into this is like the whole. I mean, I know Melanie, you're down in sunny Florida, so and there it might not happen as much down there as it does up here in Wisconsin. Not saying that it doesn't happen down there, but the whole since we're in February and up here in Wisconsin, we're still in winter mode. And kind of like the whole like winter blues and the kind
It's
of
real.
thing. Like, life could help with that too. Right, Kurt?
So the winter blues. So actually the weekend that we just had, you know, the fact that we just had it last weekend, you know, is kind of akin to what we're talking about, because when we looked at our schedule, first of all, we're shows years, so we tend to have things going on. Their ski shows through Labor Day being our last show, and then we tend to have an end of year party in September and a work day. So we still have some things, you know, that way. And then Sue and I have birthdays in November, and then we have the holidays when you have Thanksgiving in there. So it just kind of the way our year goes, you know, once we get to the end of February, it kind of middle of February, you know, kind of carries off. And like today is my daughter's birthday and stuff like that. So, but we started this 26 years ago. My daughter turns 14 today. And so we had this whole thing of the first full weekend in February before my daughter was born. And she but the whole idea is first of all, we were people together in touch better. It's been a long time. So we talked about what happened every year so that people at my church had a scheduled time. If people want to focus on that, they get together with us, and we at least could have an annual union. That type of but in terms of after the holidays and the new year, just kind of get the grind going for the new year, have it on the first full weekend in February, and then by middle of February we're already working on our new show for the upcoming show season. So the seasonal dynamic. But then the other thing, like you say, when we were starting it, I was promoting it as, you know, kind of, you know, let's bust open Cabin Fever and, you know, like you say, the winter blues, doldrums, you know, just kind of helping to get that feeling of winter being shorter, you know, and, you know, depending on the year, you know, it tends to be like right after Groundhog's Day. So like right now we're expecting 6 more weeks of winter. So it's kind of like for some people that might be a bummer. So we make our first full weekend in February extravaganza something where you can maybe get distracted from, you know, we're going to have the full dose of winter, you know, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do have a little bit of a mental health campaign going on here.
Yeah, you mentioned Florida too. So we have the blues of not being able to go to a warm beach. And you might think, oh, poor baby, but it's true because you live in Florida, right? So you're expecting to go to the beach. But when we went our second year down here, what I was shocked about, because we've only lived here 4 years, is that the sand was cold. I expected the sand to be warm down in Florida, right? And the sand was cold. It was so cold that I needed socks to put on afterwards. My feet were cold. So the only people you will see usually in the water this time of year are tourists. The tourists will come down and get in the water, but us locals were like, we're good. Well, wait. So we have a little bit of the blues because normally from like November to Marchish, you don't really get in the water, and then you got to go to local beach because you have these tourists come down, and it's crazy down here. So there's still a little bit of it, but you're talking mental wellness too, and I thought of something when you're saying that, Kurt, because you're the people in nursing homes too with mental wellness, because people, you get this slew of people visiting you because you have to visit the people in the holidays, but I can't imagine being in there in January and February because it's almost like you don't have any visitors, right? Or not as many, because you don't have to go visit grandma on the holidays. That part's over.
Or even if somebody doesn't have any family anymore, any family friends to around
Right.
to come visit.
Because when you said Valentine's Day, I want to go make a whole bunch of hearts and go stick them on all the doors.
All right.
That'd be fun for me. Because they did that during COVID. Do you remember that? The loved ones would take hearts and stick it on the windows. But the sad thing is they couldn't reach too high to let them know they were still loved.
Yeah, so for during COVID, we couldn't.
But I mean, you could still do that now. Somebody who's struggling, go decorate their car with some hearts.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun.
Yeah.
Right? Go heart to somebody and stick it on their car at the grocery store. There's always ways where you can improve somebody's mental health, even if they don't appreciate it. It doesn't matter. It'll help you out. It'll make you feel better. Yeah.
Okay.
You always hear the coffee behind, but you don't have to buy a coffee. You can do something. So I have a Jeep.
I think so.
And we do Duck Duck Jeep. I don't know if you've heard of the Duck Duck Jeep. So you buy these little rubber ducks and you put it on somebody else's Jeep that's near you. I get so excited when I get these ducks. I'm going,
you're getting all excited about that.
Rubber duck. You can imagine. I'm in the parking lot going, but I mean, it's a silly little like $2 or less rubber duck, right? But it just makes you happy. So something as simple as leaving a heart for Valentine's Day,
or even if it's like,
can really change your life.
Anything else, like there's always like chocolate and the other. Yeah, sure.
Well, chocolate, you gotta be careful in Florida.
Depending on it.
Chocolate might not be
depending on where
chocolate,
you order, you have to be careful, but or you leave it and that kind of thing. But otherwise, you don't want chocolate melted all over. Then we were getting.
I told you I moved back here 4 years ago from the cold, so there was stuff that we had to learn. I'm just thankful I don't have little kids that leave crayons in the car.
That's what we need, like crayon wax all over.
These little things that you don't think of. And another thing, you said, Emily, you have autism, right? So what about if you're in the grocery store and a child with autism is having a meltdown and they bring out their phones instead of asking if they can help with the other children? So that's another way. It's the mental health of the child obviously is not great, but the mental health of the parent that's going through that at the time is not great either. Yeah. It's very embarrassing, to have something like that happen. So, different ways where you can help parents that have disabilities. So do you have any suggestions for that? Because, autism didn't all of a sudden pop in your head, right?
Yeah.
But what do you think are some ways that maybe if I see somebody whose child is having a mental issue or mental, I don't even know how to put it. that we can help without like and you know, I don't know how to say it. What are some ways we can help? Because pulling out the phones and giving them
No,
nasty looks does not help anybody.
Well, first of all, is well, hey, just like asking the either saying something to the parents about if there's anything like they could do, or depending on maybe somehow like kind of like engaging any of the other, I don't know if there are any other kids or anybody else with them, or even the person, yeah, or even depending on
Distracting
you know
them.
the distracting the person with who's having the meltdown. I don't know, but some saying so then there's kind of more focus and not kind of tons of stuff going on. And
Now let me ask you this: did you ever get to that point where you were in a grocery store that? Because I have a question about: is the child embarrassed after the fit, or they not really realize what's going on? Like, do you know you kind of told to ignore the situation or help,
well,
but
I
you
got
know, do you see what I'm saying? Because it's such a yeah, it's tough for both of them, but it can, you know, you sometimes you want to help, and but do you ignore the child once they've come down? Do you? Because sometimes the child will still have anger issues the whole shopping, but sometimes it's just one little episode, then they're done. But that's still a mental wellness health issue, you know. I usually walk by and say, don't worry, Mama, I got a margarita for you in the car.
well, I guess it sort of
You
depends
know,
on like the age of the child and like how aware they are of um like how aware they are of
surroundings and stuff.
their how they're feeling, and if there's been like a diagnosis yet or not, or
Right.
anything along those lines.
Because you said it, sometimes it's expensive for the parents to get help, right? Sometimes it's expensive for the parents to get proper help.
Or even maybe
That's
not
one
always
thing that my
knowing like,
company
who to turn to
right?
or anything like that.
Yeah, it's true. Because one thing my company does is it gives to a children's center that helps parents and children and their whole families deal with disabilities, like especially behavioral ones, not speaking, not talking, throwing fits, stuff like that. Which is really cool because it's tough. It's tough to see it because your heartbreak goes out to them, um, and it's tough to be in the middle of it.
Yeah, and it's probably tough to be that their child
Right?
or the parent like actually in the situation or with the autism too, whether or not how much
Yeah.
they realize what's actually happening or that it's actually autism or anything like that. It's kind of hard in general.
Well, then if you're not specially trained to help with those situations, you know, because there is special training to help with those situations, you know, to not make it escalate further. You don't want the kid like throwing stuff off the shelf and you know what I mean? But it's tough, you know. It's tough. I know I've had two out of my four children think about committing suicide. The two that have disabilities. Hmm. So it's a tough time. It's a very dark, dark place that they're in, and it just tears you up because you don't know how to help. And sometimes they won't even go and seek help.
Yeah, because if they
So it's
don't really know how to explain what they're
Mhm.
feeling, or know what they're really to turn to, or even the parents don't know
Right.
really. Okay, so the
No, and the
challenge.
doctors just want to put you on medication. But you need a doctor that helps you, knows where to send you to get help.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting way because that's all tied in with mental wellness. It's tough. It's you know you got veterans too. That's another mental wellness issue that my heart breaks out to. My heart just
You know,
opens up.
we've been have help working with veterans the last little while here. And like the nonprofit Project I Heard, which is all about veterans and preventing the whole veteran military suicide thing. And just in the last couple of years, even though I don't know how much I thought of it, but I didn't really thought
Yeah.
of it before this, but we've just learned in the last couple of years that the number's been going up. I mean, it used to be 22, and now it's like doubled that just within the last year or two here.
Yeah.
Right, Kurt? Anything you want to say about veterans and mental health, and what we've learned the last couple of years about that?
Well, I mean, the experience is that, like there's Project 22 out there, which, really through a film, created awareness, and the film had its own awareness even before the film was released, about the VA number 22 vets a day that we lose to suicide, and then coming into a year ago, we're being told that it's really more like 33 vets a day. So the numbers are kind of showing that increase, which is pretty significant and very troubling. Because to take a decade to work on an issue like this and to have it go so far the wrong direction, it's just really concerning, to look at humanity and to say, really, what are we doing? And then the number 44 comes into it. So it's two parts to that, with the statistic of 33 a day, the idea is it's like, well, every 44 minutes, we lose a veteran. And then some people are even saying with that number 44 that actually the overall statistic is reaching that type of a number where it's like 44 veterans a day, we lose to suicide. So it's just really a ginormous number that is just really, really unfortunate that that it's that pervasive, and that we as a society haven't figured out, how to, get over and above this issue. And so to me, it just really calls for an overhaul of just really how we build our days and our communities and our organizations, and our relationship with ex-military veterans. We learn that, veterans, like in job search, a lot of times purposefully exclude their identity of being a veteran. I was talking about stigma. I mean, there's actually like a stigma to it. And then there's also a corporate issue with it, because there are incentives for hiring a veteran. But then in terms of keeping that veteran ongoing, there's an issue there. So veterans run the risk that, okay, they might land the job, but, they might go a part of a year and then be let go because all of a sudden the incentive isn't there, that type of thing. So So not to complain about the incentive, but just to say, there's an issue in the corporate realm and in the business realm and with work, and so workplaces and HR practices as far as our veterans are concerned. So I think our nation in the USA here needs to take a look at, how are we really going to give that issue the respect it deserves? And then, like a lot of these issues, once you start to champion that demographic of veterans, it spills over that all of a sudden we learn a lot about how this issue is pervasive for everyone, and so on and so forth. The largest healthcare crisis known to humankind, I think we covered last week, being isolation. So it's the idea of just being available. The old adage of we got 2 ears, 1 mouth. The idea is that we need to double up on using those ears and allowing people to share their story, their experiences. I lost a community volunteer a couple decades ago. Used to serve on the fire department with me and so forth. He lost his life to suicide, and I lost a cousin to suicide, and got another friend who is a survivor of the suicidal ideation. And we have Brian Gibson with Project iHeart, with this serving the issue of veteran suicide. He's passionate about it because he's a survivor of veteran veteran,
It's
but
survived.
the general thing of
Yes,
suicidation.
surviving it.
He was in that place, and fortunately, his prayer.
Yeah, so like surviving a suicide attempt.
Yeah, and that's a little bit of where today is about changing narrative, because we talk about, the language is out there about a suicide attempt. And, so like you just said, Emily, he survived a suicide attempt. The advocates say that, that is the linguistics of that, the mentality of that is that somebody attempted suicide. I've been a part of events where my takeaway is really treating it as, I guess putting it together with other experiences. It's like it's a brain issue. There's a chemical, and like in your work, Melanie,
Yes.
there's the idea of how our glands work, how our hormones work, and how serotonin and melatonin and all of these chemicals, how that all works. And it's a very real physical effect, with our fight and flight response. And so our autonomic system, I mean, these are things which affect our actions. Yep. And so the act of suicide becomes something, I guess the way I relate to it, it's like some people can be hypnotized, and it's like they go ahead and do something that the hypnotist will say it's nothing that they wouldn't do anyway, but it's just the suggestive nature and being hypnotized that they're easily influenced, but it's something that they would do, so it's like the hypnotist in their practice will say that we're not going to try to get the person to do something that they wouldn't do in their waking state, other than it's almost like being under the influence of alcohol or something. It's that type of thing. So to me, suicide ideation is about being in this depression, having this chemical imbalance, and the effect it has on the brain, and then these decisions and the reflexes and so forth, that we actually get into a state of doing something of harm to ourselves that is there because of the normal survival instinct gets shut down because the chemical imbalance. And and you start to get this emotional state where it's like, this is better. To not exist is better than the state of existing. And so the brain goes through this, it's like a cross wiring. It's like when a circuit board, like our computers, don't work right, and then you got to run that diagnostic to figure out our cars, and you run that diagnostic. And so to me, it's like, we as a human being and with our brains, we can have misfiring going on, and you don't get that chance to do a diagnostic because the damage, the harm, the life is already lost.
They find the
That's the
big
issue. And that's for
connection
some
between the gut and the brain and the heart. If the gut and the brain and the heart are not talking, that's when stuff starts misfiring, like you said. So you got to get the gut, brain, and the heart start talking. It makes sense, man. You go out one night, you have a lot of drinks, and next day you're not feeling as great. You might have some negative thoughts. You might be angry. You might be upset. You might have different things, and that stops the communication between the two. And so really improving on that gut brain communication makes and heart makes all the difference in the world. Sometimes it needs to be chemical, and there's other times when it doesn't, but you have to get that connection going. Mm-hmm. That's what they're finding out through the studies. It's pretty cool once you get into it, because you're like, oh wow, really? Something can be done about
Kurt,
it.
it's like it's kind of the same thing as what Lori was saying like a month or two ago on Ability MK Now about the mind by connection. Like he was kind of mentioning kind of that same similar thing. You remember that?
Yeah. So that's just our existence at play, and the thriving, or like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like with survival and whatever, you kind of have this level of in your activity and in your state of mind, your homeostasis and your energy level. We can kind of go to higher energy levels based on the different parts of our existence being satisfied.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, if there's something of risk and you kind of have that gut feeling like, ooh, this doesn't feel right, or ooh, I feel scared, or something like that, that can alter how we participate in something. And then
Yep.
like you say, of the heart, that's kind of placing kind of our intentions and our feelings, and kind of what we'd like to see. And like you talk about dream building or something like that, there's this elation that can come out, or or the bitterness. You can have these bitter, so you kind of have that teeter tottering at the heart level. And then of the mind, it's a matter of our mindset, our paradigm, how we process thoughts and information. It's like certain stuff comes in, it runs through the brain, and then whatever comes out of it, whether it's what we say or what we do, the nonverbal cues, to kind of what's going on in our brain, that's all there. I know the MS Society did some research, with monkeys, bananas, and further kept it going with humans to look at what I call it the empathetic drive, because the research showed that the combinations of when you put two subjects in a room, whether it's two monkeys, a monkey and a human, two humans, whatever, and then you have one of them eat and the other not, or both of them eat or both don't eat, you run through all the combinations of that, and what ends up happening is that the brain activity is similar, or the biofeedback, I shouldn't just say the brain activity, the entire biofeedback that they're able to get medically and scientifically has a similarity, whether the person or the monkey is eating or not. So there's something of watching somebody eat that our experience is so close to actually eating that it creates biofeedback, to the same degree. So So this is showing that there's evidence for, like we talked about, mental health and the brain health, and the stuff behind your, your identity is, you are happy girl. This is just the science behind it and just the reality, that this is the state of being human, or being an
Yeah.
animal,
So what they're finding
'cause
too,
we
what they're
can,
finding, what they're finding too is the serotonin and dopamine levels in your body. So the fight, you're talking about the fight and flight, right? So the serotonin and dopamine levels, if they are not um, increased, and there's different stuff that can be brought them up. If you have high serotonin levels and high dopamine levels that day, you're going to be on a high, you're going to feel great, you're going to be energetic, you're going to do everything, you're going to communicate right. But if those levels drop, you don't feel as great. You want to flight, you don't want to do stuff, you don't want to go there, your brain starts playing with you. All of a sudden you're shutting down, you start having anxiety, you start getting depressed, you start feeling not the way, you may be antsy, maybe you're a little snippy, maybe you're a little this. And so bringing those levels up, and there's many things that you can do to bring those levels up, but how do you get that to stay up there so you feel have more better days than bad days? And that's the trick, is getting the serotonin, dopamines, endorphins, all that revving up, so it's firing and communicating between your whole body, right? And really feeling to the best as you can feel every day. Because if you're not at your best, your family's not at your best, your work's not at your best, the people you're coming to are not feeling great. So it's like a chain of no communication between your body and no communication between other people, because it almost stops everything. So it's really cool once you start digging more into what the serotonin and dopamine levels, how to do it. Because I remember one time I have this, I don't think I have it right near me, but it says, I do yoga, I drink green tea, I meditate, and I still want to punch somebody. And it's and that's kind of what we're talking about, right? Because you think you're doing everything right, and you're doing everything that you find on the internet, because you're not feeling right, but you're still not there. And how do you help yourself get to have more good days than bad days? And I know I came from a very dark place not too long ago, and I had a lot of dark days. I too thought a couple times about committing suicide, but it was a matter of, how do I find, that picture to what I just said, I want to drink green tea. How do you stay out of that state to where, you think you're doing everything right, but you want to feel that time all the time? So that's where some of the flight and fight comes as well.
So Melanie, with what you're doing, with your company, and all the one-to-ones you do, and the education available through the events that you're connected to, how do the fans of Jennifer's and the Jaws Coffee Chat series and this mental health awareness show, how do folks, we're going to be wrapping up here pretty quick, but how do people continue the journey and dive a little deeper into what you're sharing right now?
You can go to youarehappygirl.com. Mm-hmm.
There you go. That keeps it really easy.
It's really as simple as that. Youarehappygirl.com, and you can connect with me on there as well. And there's also some great information.
Very good. So with the Happy Neighborhood Project, and with the work of Edwin as the Chief Happiness Officer, one of the things in his teaching with happiness as a skill is called the 3-minute rule. Melanie, do you know what the 3-minute rule is under the terms of Edwin with the Happy Neighborhood Project?
I do not. Please tell me.
All right. So basically the principle is that Edwin, obviously since 2009, has been very much leading the charge in spreading happiness around the world. He interviewed over 1,000 people about happiness, and concerted effort was to get people in the mode of a day at a time, to commit to staying happy. So the idea is, he'd have a conversation, and this is with strangers, just like go out into the public and just strike up an interaction with a stranger, and then just talk, and then leave the conversation with, would you be willing to do me a favor? And then what's the favor? Would you be willing to commit to me that for the next 24 hours that you will be happy? And at the end of the 24 hours, do it over again. And then, just kind of
One day at a time.
insinuating that cycle, one day at a time. Yeah. So then the 3-minute rule is that when life throws you a curveball and your happiness is challenged, and you kind of feel this disruption to your happiness, to go ahead and take on the 3-minute rule, which means you get 3 minutes to do whatever you need to do. Whatever, venting, screaming into a pillow, pounding a pillow or mattress, or, go and do your own little solo thing. Just do your thing to just kind of, diffuse that, and then allow yourself up to 3 minutes to do that, or come up with whatever you need to do for 3 minutes, so that when the third minute ticks over, that
You're done.
you're right back to happiness as a default position. 3-minute rule.
I like that. I used to give my kids 30 seconds when they're younger. Now that they're teenagers, they need longer than 30 seconds. But I have to wake up with fun. So I love this conversation. My son is not answering me, and he has practice that we have to leave for in 15 minutes. So I want to thank you for having me.
We're at the end anyway.
For the conversation. I appreciate both of you. And until next time.
Thank you for Melanie.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt, for the wonderful conversation. And Melanie for coming on. And would like to give special thanks or recognition to 3 people. Marcus Hart of Transforming Media, out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Jay Stoyan of Disability Channel out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And Zach Clayton of the Tech Channel out of Greeley, Colorado, for allowing us to for running the show on their platform. And would also encourage everybody again to check out all of the Jaws Coffee Chat social media pages and YouTube channel, and to subscribe, like, share. We'd really appreciate it. And for anyone who is interested in, we are always looking for anyone to come on as a guest for any of the Jaws Coffee Chat shows of diet, mental health awareness, Christ Talk, and the newly Follow Your Dreams, along with all of the other shows in the World of Ability Podcast Network, which this show and the other ones are a part of. And so if anyone is interested in joining us on Zoom as a guest, Or even like if you're like to maybe help out any of the Jaws Coffee Chat shows and in any other capacity. To connect with us through jawscoffeechat@gmail.com. That is JAWSCOFFEECHAT@gmail.com. And we are here every Monday. The Jaws Diet, Mental Health Awareness, and Christ Talk are here every Monday at 9, 2:30, and 4:15. So I look forward to seeing all of you either here on Zoom or tuning in on any of our live streamings on Facebook, YouTube, and so on. Or looking forward to seeing any comments, so on our social media or emails. And okay, would you like to say anything about the IDH quick?
Yeah, I would say let's just go ahead and end this. But as far as the you could have gone ahead and said, but folks can go to happyneighborhoodproject.com and select IDH. IDH stands for International Day of Happiness. March 17th, Guinness World Record breaking event. We're breaking the record of 1,068 people doing speed networking at one event, and it is 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Pacific, and because noon to 6 Eastern. And so this is to be conducted on Hopin, HOPIN. So in the short link for the Happy Neighborhood Project is hmpabc.com, which takes you to the happyneighborhoodproject.com. It's all the same page, just the convenience of that short link to help save the typing of the words Happy Neighborhood Project, and just be able to type in those 6 characters.com, hmpabc.com. So go ahead and check it out and spread the word. Let's continue the journey of spreading happiness around the world, which is a good thing for mental health. So there's the end of mental health awareness. Take us on out here, Emily. Thank you.
On behalf of Jen, John, Kurt, and myself, and the rest of the World of Ability Podcast Network, we wish you all a safe and productive week and to stay happy.